A 10-minute video on ability smurfing replays and more. What's cracking? What's going on in the Valorant scene?
First, I want to talk about abilities. We've seen a lot of conversation over the last few months about abilities in Valorant, especially when multiple abilities overlap.
It's so funny that they used the exact clip here that Cadril reacted to. That's really funny. When you look at all of these clips that they're showing of pro-level games, like look at this one here. This is from a while back, but it's DRX playing against Am1. The combo of util of Brim Molly, Breach, Aftershock, and then a Neon Stun comes around the back and tags onto these players and stuff. You don't run into this really in your ranked games. The level of coordination where people are throwing out like 7 abilities all at once right as you're trying to get the spike down. It's not like they're using the worst examples, which is fair enough because like these are horrendous examples, but this is not what your ranked games look like. It might be how your ranked games feel, but this is not an accurate representation of your ranked games. But I'll tell you what, this change, they're talking a lot about visual clarity here, or just clarity in general. It doesn't have to be visual. But this, I could definitely see a world where minimap informational overload becomes ridiculous if every piece of utility has a minimap icon. Because even the KO Flash to me feels a bit weird. But if you had KO Flash, Sky Flash, Reyna Flash, like if all of these things had an icon, dude, the minimap would look crazy. It would be so tough to tell what was happening in the middle of an exec. That was the whole thing about ability overload. So they didn't really say what their fix is going to be. They just said there's going to be some clarity improvement and some other additional stuff coming later on. And they're not going to spoil it too much. I mean, at least they're recognizing that it's an issue and they're talking about it as if it's a serious issue. They're giving it, you know, like a full 2 minutes of discussion. But it would be nice to know what direction they're looking to go with. Because improving clarity is one thing, but that's not necessarily what people are actually spitballing as a solution. A lot of people are spitballing like increasing the time on signature abilities, not allowing signature abilities to respawn, reducing overall amounts of util, like those kind of things. So we'll have to see where they go.
Most players are engaging with the new map for the first time in competitive already, and we want to better support learning the map in that competitive environment right away.
That's interesting. Most players learn the map by just jumping into competitive instead of going into, you know, Swift Play, Spike Rush, something like that. That's good data for them to work on.
So during that first patch cycle, which is 2 weeks, RR losses on the new map will be reduced by 50%.
Okay, so you don't feel as bad about jumping into a new map straight away in competitive? Yeah. No, I think that's a smart change. I think that's a good change. Seems intelligent.
We're starting the conversation around a topic we've heard a lot about, smurfing. And that word is loaded. It's not a one-size-fits-all descriptor of the behavior that we see. Some players are dialed in for the night, and they're just performing well for their rank. Others are new or returning and in the process of ranking up. But some have deranked with the intent to stomp, or are playing at lower ranks on accounts that they didn't level themselves. And that's an issue. So here's what's coming.
That's interesting, the way that they phrased that, actually, because they've bucketed some people together there, and they've said that what they view as bad smurfing, they've just essentially defined what they view as bad smurfing, which is deliberately deranking in order to stomp, right? Or a new account, but you didn't level it, but leveled by somebody else. Obviously, this is a false dichotomy. This doesn't capture all stuff. I have an account that's lower than my other account, but I did level it myself. But apparently that's not smurfing. I mean, I'm not saying that take me away, Riot, throw me in jail. But I'm just saying, like, I have an account that's in gold. Is that not smurfing? I think most people would define that as smurfing if I played on it like regularly in order to get like an ego boost or something like that. But I mean, these are worse for sure because this harms people twice, right? It harms you when they derank and then it harms you when they rank back up again. I mean, this is just going after people who are too lazy to do it themselves. If you played on it regularly enough, you'd have to deliberately derank it to maintain the low rank. I don't think that's even true though. There's a difference in terms of putting in effort, right? Like if I play while like zoned out listening to a podcast or something, I'm not deliberately trying to derank, but then you're just golden, it's not a problem. Well, no, because then sometimes you can play properly on your gold account and you can fucking farm people. Well, I suppose at that point, like, what are you going to do about it? It's just, you can't dictate whether or not people try in your games, can you? You could be playing on your main account and someone could be just fucking half-arsing it and then you get a shit game because someone's been half-arsing it. I guess you can't really adjudicate for that. I wouldn't say that it's good for the game, but yeah, I guess it's fairly unenforceable.
We'll be adding an additional reporting category for players that are abusing matchmaking systems. This one's twofold. One, we want better data about when you think someone in the match was intentionally abusing the system with the intent to stomp on the opposing team. And two,
with the intent to stomp on the opposing team. That's a weird one. They're going to get so many false positives from that. I think if they said, use it when you think someone's deliberately D-ranking, then again, you might get a lot of false positives from that as well, with just people being shit. I think I would get accused of fucking deliberately D-ranking so often.
Next up, I wanted to give an update about something we talked about earlier this year. We're adding more visibility into your behavior standing. Here's what we plan for it to look like. You can see any active warnings or penalties on your account, along with what penalties may be coming next if you don't shape up.
They're going to tell you what you're like close to. At-risk behaviors. So these are the things that you've been reported for, and if you get reported again, they're likely to become like a big thing.
Launching later this year. Our game is competitive.
That's a cool idea, though.
You overheat. We're giving you more direct and visible information so that you can course correct more quickly, and so you understand when bans are on the table.
That's a very compassionate way of framing that. I feel like in the past, Riot has been extremely bad at feeling very patronizing and paternal in the way that they've communicated their behavioral altering mechanisms for feedback. Okay, it is kind of weird that a games company is trying to change the culture of the people who play the game. But that is what they're trying to do, right? And that's kind of what you want them to do as well, is implement incentives to incentivize people to not be such dickheads when you join a game. But like, the way that he's phrased it there of, it's a game. Sometimes you overheat. I feel like when your teammate in EU drops a slur.
The game is competitive, and sometimes you overheat.
I mean, it's a very kind way of phrasing it. It gives a lot of compassion to the people who are acting like dickheads. And you know what? That's a good way for them not to get defensive about these kind of things. So I'm fine with that, I guess. It's serious, but we can still address it in a casual manner.
There are three things we're aiming to accomplish. The first goal is more openness. While partnership will remain a key component of our design, we want the VCT to be a bit more open, better bridging the gap between Tier 1 and Tier 2, between professional and community tournaments, and giving more teams the opportunity to compete at bigger stages. The second goal is more flexibility. We want to design a system that gives us a wider variety of competitions, formats, and event locations around the globe. And our third goal is to create more ecosystem moments. Events like Masters and Champions have been incredibly valuable because they allow us to bring together all the things that make Valorant special. The game, the sport, the community, the culture. And while we think the number of global events is still appropriate, we're looking to create more moments like that, especially at the regional level.
Okay. So, more openness. Now, there's tons of different ways that they could go about this, and he hasn't been specific about it. He's talked in the past about how it could be like extra teams end up ascending, or you have some kind of LCQ where the Tier 2 teams are able to compete with the Tier 1 teams, something like that. I think this is a very good goal generally. I don't really understand what he means when he says flexibility. So they want more flexibility. So they want more formats, more locations, but they think the amount of globals should stay the same, which implies a more tournament-style approach to the regional level, or maybe Tier 2, Tier 1 LCQs, where you get, like, you know, your international league sends a certain amount of people to a global, and then you play an LCQ for some final spots between Tier 1 and Tier 2, which gives you a new format, a new location. Maybe you hold it, like, in, you know, LATAM or something for Americas.
And our third goal is to create more ecosystem moments. Events like Masters and Champions have been incredibly valuable.
One of the strange things about the way that this is being framed, though, is the clarification that the amount of globals
all the
is
things that make Valorant special.
the right amount.
The sport, the community, the culture.
I think if money was no issue, I would want there to be 4 tournaments a year, not 3. I don't think I'd want there to be 5, but I think 4 would be a really nice number of like big Riot tournaments.
And while we think the number of global events is still appropriate, we're looking to create more moments like that, especially at the regional level.
If you're looking to create more moments like Masters or Champions at the regional level, the only thing that can indicate is that you're moving to more of a tournament style system, I think, so that you have playoffs more often. I mean, the bad part about running a regular group stage is just that you fill the calendar with non-high stakes elimination matches.
It's still very early, and we'll be sharing a lot more updates in this year and the next. But as always, our biggest advantage continues to be the ideas you bring to the table. So please, continue sharing them with us.
Okay, finally, let's talk about replays. Replays have been a long time coming, and we are happy to confirm that they'll be going live on PC with patch 1106 in September.
In September? So that's like right before Champs? Or right before Stage 2 playoffs, maybe?
Coming to console a bit later this year. The launch version will...
Okay, so immediately some things to look at here, right? You don't have the VCT style things on the side that show you all info about your teammates by the look of things. So that's presumably because that is an external company that does that for Valorant. That's why it sometimes dies in the middle of these tournaments. So you're missing some data about, you know, money, abilities, that kind of thing. But you got a nice clean UI here with a play pause button, round skip feature. That's a nice idea. A speed up button as well. This is locking to a player POV. This is a free cam, presumably. Don't know what kind of things are going to be in these settings. And this is probably going to toggle the bar itself.
Enable you to analyze your recently played games on the live patch, starting with your competitive games, and we'll be looking into other modes.
Yeah, so here's the free cam.
You'll be able to click through each player's perspective.
You'll be able to click through each player's perspective. Okay, so I was slightly concerned that they might lock you into only your perspective as well.
Have a free moving observer cam, and you'll have some other
free moving observer cam is actually much more difficult than you'd think to make work, as far as I'm aware. Like, oh, maybe that was only in the source games, but in the source games, those were two entirely different files. Like, if you wanted to look through the eyes of the players versus going to a free cam, you had to have a completely different file. One was the like player demo, and one was the server demo. So that's cool that they have both.
Back control tools as well.
Yeah, they have a speed up mechanic too. 0.1, 0.25, 0.5. With no reverse though. I'm not seeing a go backwards feature. When I did TF2 demos that were on the source engine, you couldn't go back. You had to like jump back a chunk of time, and then you could only go forwards, and that's how the source engine works. It was just an enormous pain to get like smooth rewind working. And in Overwatch, they managed to make, I don't know how, they managed to make smooth rewind work in Overwatch replays. I think that team was crazy, by the way. There's a scrub bar right there. Yeah, it might be. It might be, but that's the same as in TF2. In TF2, there was a scrub bar, and you would scrub backwards, and then it would like reload the whole thing, and then you would play forwards. If you could smooth rewind, I would expect to see it in the speed options. Because like I'm not seeing a specific button to rewind, which makes me think that maybe they don't have smooth rewind.
And we're really looking forward to all the clips, edits, and analyses that you create with it. We'll be sharing more info as we get closer to release. All right, that's a wrap for today.
Okay. Can you press Alt to get the ability info up above people's heads? Because if you have to cycle through every player's POV to check what util was online, that's a headache. It's not unusable, but that's a headache. I hope there's some kind of icon that allows you to quickly scan over what utility is online and the timers for it, because without the HUD that you have in VCT games, it's going to be an arduous task to figure out what the state of a game was, even if you're looking through free cam. Do you think we could see the champs VODs in replay mode, or is it just going to be your own games?
The launch version will enable you to analyze your recently played games on the live patch, starting with your competitive games, and we'll be looking into other modes over time.
I would suggest no. The way that they phrase that specifically is saying that the launch version, so this sounds like they're going to update it over time, but what they're saying is the version that's going to go out at launch is only going to let you view your recently played games. If they're planning to launch a launch version in September and then update it over time, I'd like to see some kind of HUD with abilities, because that looks like that's not, I mean, we can't see anything like that in it at the moment. I think that's more important even than comp games. It would be really cool if they waited until after champs. So like in October, they dropped, you could look at VCT games. That would be a really sick tie-in from a marketing point of view. And then if they could also add some level of rewind feature if they don't have it. But that's me just speculating based on the UI. I think this is more important than comp games personally, because I think it just makes the tool much more friendly to use. My opinion on the replay client is that they're going to get more hate for releasing it than for not releasing it. I think no matter what you do, people are going to be like, this is shit, or your game is broken, or something like that. And in League of Legends, I think it's like 0.5% of people ever use the replay client. So like the majority of the player base is not going to use this fucking thing. They're just not. Like most of you in chat, even you, the more like committed Valorant people in the scene, you're probably not even going to use it. You'll probably use it like a couple times, and then you'll just kind of forget to use it. Or you'll be like, well, yeah, I mean, I know I should go back and review my games to learn, but who's got time for that? I'll just queue into another ranked game. And the proportion of anger that the community is going to have based on it not being released, based on it being released, based on it being released but missing some features, like, is just, I think it's disproportionate. I think it's disproportionate to the amount that this is useful for the average person. Now, is it useful for me? It's useful as fuck for me. Like, me, my POV, hallelujah, they decided to make this a priority and work on it and release it. Why the fuck does Joe Blogs down the street post where's the replay client in every single YouTube video? I don't know, because he's not going to use it anywhere near as much as I would use this thing. But like, I mean, like, bless up to them for causing a stink about it, I guess. Yeah, compared to the average amount of people that are going to use it, it's not actually worth the pain that Riot's put into it, I think. But for me, for other content creators, for potentially coaches and analysts, depending on how pro games are filtered through this, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be used hella more than League, though, right? Based on what? According to Medal, like 1.4 million people use Medal for Valorant, which is one of the more common ways that people clip content in Valorant. Yeah. When people have stuff like Medal or Shadowplay, are you going to use this? Maybe you would. Maybe people would. Hitting a sick clip and then going back into the content creator might be the most used way that this is actually utilized. I think many people will use it for a few seconds to just look at how the shot missed or something like that. Yeah, but I think that's one of the worst ways that you can use this. I really think if you're going into this replay client to try to figure out how the hell did I miss that shot, it's only going to make you more frustrated because the server thinks you missed. And you know the server thinks you missed because it told you it missed. So when you watch it on the server, you're going to miss. And so the best case scenario is it looked like you hit it from the player POV, but the server didn't register it because of bad like network connection or something. So all you've done is get angry about your own network connection. There's nothing to learn. And that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, it's off on your player POV as well, and you just get tilted at yourself for missing.